On the beautiful island of Koh Samui in the Gulf of Thailand by sandy beaches you will find the Green Light Cafe, where on Wednesday nights it becomes the Conspiracy Cafe. Tonight Tom Charlesworth recounts the rise of the City of London and the dawn of the banksters. It's over to Tom, your host at the Conspiracy Cafe.
I was in Hong Kong during the Asian crisis. I was sat between the interest rate desk and the foreign exchange desk at UBS while I was trading oil on the commodities desk. That was in '97. A few years later, I was involved in the dot-com crash. I was working for a dot-com, and we had funding from one of Soros's smaller funds, which was pulled just as the dot-com bubble exploded. I was in London for the 2008 financial crisis, and I took a fairly central role in that. I was working for a company selling business information to banks, and we created a valuation in a very short time, which was used for the closeouts of the Lehman Brothers bankrupt positions. I've worked in the major financial centres: London, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Zurich. And in London in particular, I've worked there 3 separate occasions. The first time I was working directly in the city, right on the edge of the city of London, and I used to walk past this place called Temple, which is the centre of the legal profession in the UK. I never knew why it was called Temple. I always wondered why it was called Temple. But you know what? I wasn't curious enough to spend the time to find out why. My second visit to London, my second occasion I was working there, I was working on the South Bank of London with a view very similar to this. I was right on the edge of London Bridge, and I could walk over London Bridge and I would see one of these, something like this. This is a marker to the City of London. Little did I know at the time that the City of London is effectively a sovereign state within the country of England. Now, who knows that? Maybe half of you. For the other half, I'm happy to deal with that in the questions. I'm happy to deal with that later, but for the moment, we're going to take that as a given. Sorry, I shouldn't have included this one. Now, what the really important thing though is I didn't understand what was going on in the financial system there. Despite spending 10 years in the financial markets in London and 20 years in general in the wider markets, I didn't know what was going on. And guess what? I didn't know what was going on because you're not meant to know what's going on. The whole system is designed that way. You're not meant to know what's going on. So, but why? Why are you not meant to know what's going on? What's being hidden from us? Well, let me tell you. What's being hidden from us is the fact that the financial system does not serve us. So, who does it serve? That's the question. Yeah. So, now, we're going to talk about the nature of capital. So, capital, money, wealth, flows, it moves. It cannot stay on its own. It needs company. It needs interest. It's mobile. It seeks the highest return. It just cannot be left alone. there's opportunity cost of leaving money alone. If you come back, inflation has eaten away its value. It's like it eats the host where it can. Wherever money finds the biggest return, it will go and take that return until that return is no longer offered. And by the way, what this means is that all sorts of dodgy enterprises will be financed through capital. Things that you really shouldn't be doing, you know you shouldn't be doing, at least we do. And it seeks these returns at all costs. Let's see it as a greedy monster, which needs to be fed the whole time, all the time. Speaking of greedy monsters, the Bank of England. We need to look at this. This is one of the very core parts of the City of London. The Bank of England is also one of the core parts of the financial system of the whole world. It's the model for all future central banks from there. But it was not the first central bank. There were two principal forerunners. Have we got any Dutch people here today? Okay, well, the Dutch central bank, the Bank of Amsterdam, it was not technically a central bank, but it was a forerunner. And clearly some of the financial innovation, which was developed in Holland at the time, moved to the UK. I mean, it's worth noting that the UK central bank, the Bank of England, its first chairman, was a Dutchman. 3 of his family members were board members. And it was able to raise capital because of the new financial innovation of a joint stock company. Now, this cannot be underestimated as a financial innovation because it has affected multiple areas of, for example, the East India Company, the Dutch East India Company. These are other great examples of the joint stock company, which grew and gave an access to capital which was unrivaled at the time. But the Bank of England was the same. And it may surprise people to know that the Bank of England is a private institution. Well, actually, what I've got to say is this was the moment. This was the moment when I found out that the Bank of England was a private institution. I found that out here maybe a year ago. This is the moment of truth for me where I started to go, what? What? It's a private company? Somebody might tell me that the Bank of England was nationalised. It was taken over by the British state in 1946, I believe it was. Anybody who tells me that, I will tell you, go look at a company called Bank of England Nominees Limited. Then ask me again. Oh, sorry, by the way, who regulates the financial markets in the UK? The same private company. That has changed in recent years. For most of its life, the Bank of England was not only a private company, but effectively a monopoly and a regulator of its own monopoly position. Something that smells bad. So, guys, now, if we took a look at, I've already mentioned the Dutch chairman of the board, some Dutch directors, but for the rest of this, if we had a list of the shareholders of the Bank of England, the early shareholders of the Bank of England, tell me who you would expect to see. Okay, well, let's take a look. Queen. The Queen, yes. That's probably the first correct answer. Okay, now, here we go. This is an extract. This comes from a list which is 20 pages long. Can you read it at the back there? No. Okay, so I'm going to read out some of these names. Starting. Almeida. These are just the surnames. Almeida. Alvarenga. 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 Alvarez. 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 Sorry, okay, I'm going to give up there. Did anybody see any, was that a surprise? Yes. Right. It was to me. It was to me. So, this list of 20 pages, mainly Spanish, but I don't know if you noticed where they lived. They all lived, they were domiciled either in London, Amsterdam, or The Hague. The Dutch connection. And even the Spanish names domiciled in Spain, no, domiciled in Amsterdam or London or other parts of Holland. Okay, this list was 22 pages. I showed you the first page, they were all A. There's many more. So, we're all surprised about this. How did this happen? Where did it come from? What's going on? Well, what was going on was a move in financial capital, a move in the way that the world was operating with finance. And this goes to the heart of what was going on in politics at the time and world trade. So, we need to go back, a little bit of a history lesson here. Venice, around 1500. Venice had been at the center of world trade for maybe 400 years. World trade from Venice was going east into China along the Silk Road. Money flowed back from the east into the money changers of Venice, the bankers of Venice. But these guys didn't make any friends. And by about 1500, they'd managed to piss off the royalty of most European countries. And most of the royals in Europe had become indebted to them, and they hadn't made any friends. So what happened in 1508 was something. Has anyone come across the League of Chambray? No. Okay, good. It's new to you. The League of Chambray was basically all of these royals who've been mightily pissed off by the merchants of Venice, formed a consortium to effectively to evict them from Venice, and they realized that the Venice was indefensible. I mean, one swamp, it's all underwater, right? And so they relocated. Where did they go? Anybody? Netherlands. Also underwater. Another swamp. And why did they go to the Netherlands? Well, guess what? Where was the money flow coming from now? It had been coming from the east. Money had been coming into the west from this spice road. But next, the new world had been discovered not long before by Columbus, 1492. And in short order, gold was coming out of the new world at a great rate. The Netherlands at that time was a colony of Spain. I'm going to flick forward a tiny bit to this. This shows the Spanish Empire, sorry, or the Habsburg Empire at around that time. So we can see they've got parts of northern Italy, southern Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands, as well as Bohemia. So basically, the gold was coming in from the New World and landing effectively in the Netherlands to the money changers who were managing the finances of the King of Spain. Just flick that, sorry. So, however, Netherlands being a place which is underwater as well and difficult to defend, the money changers ended up in Venice, sorry, from Venice to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, they realized that maybe they were in the wrong place because they'd ended up there just as the war between the Dutch had been at war with Spain now during the 80 Years' War, and it wasn't a very conducive environment. So they left shortly afterwards and moved to England, but not just to England, to the City of London, to that sovereign state of London. Now, Spain had by now had 200 years to take the wealth out of the New World. They'd accumulated a ton of money, probably more than a ton of money. But despite 200 years of plunder of the New World, Spain went bankrupt twice. How? Where's the money? I mean, let's face it, guys. Think about it. Money, banknotes, you can lose. Gold doesn't go away. Right? So somebody's taken it off Charles of Spain. And I'm going to leave you to guess who. No, I'm not. So basically, the Spanish Empire created the seed money for the British Empire. Okay, now, this is what we're here to talk about today, right? Financial innovation, bubbles, financial crisis, recessions. Okay, I've thrown in the business cycle as well. But I'm not going to spend too long on this because what I want to tell you is that these are all metaphors. These are all metaphors. What these are all metaphors for? Can anybody guess? Please.
Financial innovation is change the rules in your favour.
Okay.
Bubble is play with the prices so we can transfer wealth in our favour.
Yeah.
Crisis is where people look other ways, so they're worried about that, so we can take the wealth in their favour.
Right.
Recession is the same, but just getting ready for it so they can set the books before they do it. Business cycle is we're going to do it all over again.
Okay, well, basically, you got it. You know this as well. And the grim reality is that it boils down to one thing. They're metaphors because they don't want to tell us what they're doing. They're metaphors because they want to hide the way that they're doing it. If we call these things transfer of wealth, then it would be too obvious, wouldn't it? Then we would know. They're there to obfuscate. They're there to hide. These words are being used intentionally. I mean, there's other examples. I mean, for example, another great example. Credit contracts, right? Money supply contracts. It grows, it contracts. No, that's bullshit. It doesn't do that. That makes it sound like it happens all by itself. It doesn't do that. Somebody does it. Guess what? It's the Federal Reserve in New York that does it. It's the Bank of England in the UK that does it. They decide what interest rates are. They decide what the money supply is. And these are the things which control what's going on. Money is needed for a bubble. Money supply controls the inflation of the bubble, and the contraction of credit, contraction of the money supply is when the bubble bursts.